What were you doing over this weekend? Palestinians in Gaza had a packed schedule, starving to death or losing their lives to live fire by the occupying or besieging Israeli forces. I would make a comment about catching strays, but they aren't even catching strays, they're catching what's being thrown or fired straight at them. It's not stray if it's aimed at you. 115 people lost their lives just this weekend. Mothers are watching their kids waste away and then starve to death in some cases. Not everyone watching this has kids, this video, right? And very few people are watching this anyway. The algorithm has been advised to shut me up. But for those few thousands who have typed in my name or somehow come across my video, let me know, by the way, if you see this in the on the For You page. That would be very useful for me to know if anyone is actually seeing this on the For You page. I'm guessing there'll be very few, if any, comments that say I saw this on the For You page. No way, no way. Look at my numbers and look at my followers. Okay, there's no way people are finding this pushed to them by TikTok. No way. Now, but for those few thousands of people who are watching this video, I want you to understand something. Geopolitics, right? This is my specialty. The point of this page. Geopolitics is what has led to this catastrophe in Gaza. It's geopolitics, the alignment of states, the allegiances they have in the region, looking the other way when they see a state, at a state level, unacceptable behavior like withholding baby formula at the border 1 mile away from starving children. That's just one example. Unacceptable behavior by the Israeli state, war crimes, genocidal acts. Geopolitics is what makes this permissible, makes this a reality, not just a dream that some evil bunch of people have concocted or imagined up. This is all possible because of the geopolitical dynamics set up, and we're going to talk about it. That's the news. The starving children, over 100 who have lost their lives to being shot at and killed in many cases at the GHF aid sites. The majority of people who lost their lives were at the GHF aid sites over this weekend. That's the news now. Here's the analysis. What is it with this stupid wire? Unbelievable. So frustrating. Here's the analysis that others won't give you, right? But I'll deliver it to you. If I'm in a bad mood, if it looks like I'm in a bad mood, it's because I'm in a flippin' bad mood. I'll try to be analytical and unemotional because that's what you come here for. You want the details, not the drama, and you don't want the activism. I'm an analyst, not an activist. So let's get stuck in. The analysis is this, guys. It's understandable why Israel is so aggressive against other states and peoples in the Middle East. It's understandable. The Israeli state has to be. It's a nation built with a foreign culture and a foreign ethnicity in a faraway land from where the vast majority of its citizens are from. Ironically, the Semites are the Palestinians and the Lebanese, maybe a few Syrians and Jordanians. They are the Semites, the people from this part of the world, on the banks of the Eastern Mediterranean, the Holy Land, as it's been called for hundreds of years. The Semites are the natives, guys, right? You don't have to be Jewish to be a Semite. You just have to be from this part of the world. If some part at some point in your ancestry, your Jewish ancestors converted to Christianity or Islam, or Christianity then Islam in that order, or you're atheist or whatever, you're still a Semite. Just being technical here. Now, the Semites aren't from Eastern Europe in Poland, Warsaw. The Semites aren't from New York City, Brooklyn, right? As Yakub is. Anyway, my point is, it's understandable why Israel is doing what it's doing. If you want to survive in a region that's clearly not your home region, you have to stack the odds heavily in your favor. You have to use repression and violence and coercion to ensure that a steady state is reached, skewed heavily in your favor. You need it to be skewed, because if it's balanced, the balance is going to go and fling you, catapult you back to wherever the hell you are from. Now, whether you think that's worth it, skewing it through repression and violence and hasbara, propaganda, whether you think that's worth it, whether you think that's justified, whether you think it's just, it's fair, of course, That's where my analysis ends and people's opinions begin. You can have whatever opinion you want. I know, for example, loads of Israelis will think, yes, it's fine. This land was promised to me, for God's sake, Mahfouz. You don't seem to understand that. It was promised to me 3,000 years ago. What's so hard for you to understand that? By any means necessary. I'ma be here. I'ma be right here. Probably told to me in a Brooklyn accent because that's where you're actually from. But I'll leave you to decide amongst yourselves what's just, what's fair. Do the ends justify the means? If the ends are something was promised to you 3,000 years ago and it requires you to conduct war crimes to achieve it, the means are starving children to death so that you can somehow achieve it. I'm not, I can't agree with that, but I'll leave that opinion to you. Analytically, though, the people of the region have decided a thing. I'll tell you what that thing is. What the Israeli state has done and continues to do, because it's not over, right? 1 in 3 Palestinians in Gaza are reportedly going without food for days at a time. That's a report I made a video on just a couple of days ago. That's a very fresh statement by, I think, is the World Food Program. Now, what is being done by the Israeli state is criminal at one of the highest orders of magnitude. That's a conclusion the natives, by and large, of the Middle East have come to. Polling data shows it. Citizen sentiment conducted by outside sources show it. States that actually run any sort of polling, which is not particularly a thing in the Middle East because these regions have monarchies or centralized governments that are quite, let's say, closed and tight when it comes to reporting on citizen sentiment. But all the evidence that we have access to, I have access to publicly, shows the citizens are absolutely furious with the Israeli state, which is why Israel feels it's in such a hostile environment. Because it is in a hostile environment. I have to agree with Israel, actually. I have to agree with Israel. It's in a hostile environment. I'll give them that. But that's to be expected. If you rock up to a school gathering and unalive all the children, what are you going to expect from the parents? Smiles and kind words. Like, please, welcome, join us at the table. Under extreme duress, perhaps, if they've got guns held to their heads, perhaps they might treat you with a smile. Or perhaps if you somehow stack the monetary incentive so much in their favor, it completely blinds them to what you've just done to their family members, their kids maybe. They might, for a second, stutter before the reality hits in and you get hit like a freight truck, like a freight train, sorry. The region snaps back into reality. Such is the nature of the Middle East. We haven't seen that snap back to reality, but that's the nature. Analytically speaking, Israel has to skew the situation and hold it at a skewed state. It's like a dam holding back water. There's extreme pressure. Israel's the dam. The water is the citizen sentiment of basically everyone in the Middle East. They're having to hold back a lot of pressure, right? However, Gaza ends with a peace or a ceasefire or something horrifyingly unspeakable, the liquidation of the ghetto, as it were. However, it ends, it has to be said, analytically, it's very unlikely the citizenry will forget this and let Israel off. What citizenry? The Palestinian people, but also the people of the Middle East by and large. Ever. They're unlikely to ever forget this. You'd have to wait centuries. And even then, it's a tough sell because Israel has had decades and has had funding and has had hasbara, and there's not been any social media. No one had phones, and still the people did not forget. And now we have phones. We have footage of what's going on. What's going on now, a lot of things going on now happened 10 years ago, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. You can't say 100 years ago because Israel wasn't even around at that point. That's how young the ethno-state is. But they didn't have phones back then, and they still preserved their narrative and their identity. Now you have phones. How is Israel going to get rid of this? How is Israel going to get rid of these scenes, right? So it's a tough sell because of social media. It's literally been caught on camera what the IDF is doing. They've literally been caught with their diapers down, as it were. It's tragic now, it's frustrating for many seeing the inaction of governments of the regional states. But if citizen sentiment is anything to go by, coupled with the geopolitical reality of an America uninterested in a new Middle Eastern war, slowly sliding out of the region, if all the relevant factors are taken into consideration, one thing becomes absolutely crystal clear. The drums are likely to be beaten. When, I cannot say, but from Turkey to Yemen to from Egypt to Iran, the drums of war, maybe Afghanistan, the drums of war are likely to be beaten. And time will tell when that occurs.